Have you ever gone to bed with your mind full of worries, unable to close your eyes in peace? This story will take you from anxiety to rest, from darkness to the light of faith. Based on Psalm 4 verse 8, what you are about to hear is not just a story. It's a message from heaven for you. Stay until the end, and I promise you will sleep with a deep peace like never before. Subscribe now and hit the bell to receive more soul-soothing bedtime stories. The Whisper in the Night. Matthew was a 10-year-old boy who lived in a small village surrounded by mountains. Although his home was humble and the wind howled fiercely at night, what truly kept him awake were the thoughts swirling in his mind. What if Mom doesn't find work tomorrow? What if we have nothing to eat? One night, while the sky wept with a gentle drizzle and the old roof creaked, Matthew curled up under his patched blanket. Fear wrapped around him. He looked up at the ceiling and whispered, "God, if you're there, can you help me sleep without fear?" Suddenly, as if the very sky had answered, the wind quieted. And amidst his thoughts, he heard as if someone spoke directly to his heart. "In peace you will lie down and sleep, for I am watching over you." Matthew didn't know it yet, but that voice came straight from the psalm his grandmother had once read to him. Psalm 4 verse 8. And that night, something miraculous began to happen. That night, Matthew woke up softly, not from fear, but because he thought he heard footsteps. He slowly opened his eyes, and there, sitting in the old rocking chair, was his grandfather Julian. But that was impossible. Julian had gone to be with the Lord 2 years ago. Grandpa smiled, serene, wrapped in a warm light. He said nothing, just looked at him tenderly. Matthew felt his heart beat calmly, as if an invisible blanket of love and peace was covering him. "Grandpa?" Matthew whispered, unafraid, more curious than scared. Then Grandpa spoke, but not with words of this world. His voice sounded as if the wind carried it from afar. "Matthew, when you feel afraid, don't look at the darkness. Look to the one who made the night and the day. He does not sleep. He watches over you even while you dream." Matthew closed his eyes, and without realizing it, a tear slipped down his cheek, not from sadness, but from comfort. The psalm was beginning to come true. "In peace I will lie down." The next morning, Matthew woke up more rested than ever. He sat on his bed, rubbing his eyes and thinking, was it a dream? Did I really see Grandpa? As he put on his slippers, something caught his attention. On the wall, right above his bed, hung a small picture he had never noticed before. It had golden letters and an old wooden frame. He approached and read softly, "In peace I will lie down and sleep. For you alone, Lord, make me dwell in safety." Psalm 4 verse 8. Matthew felt a shiver. That was exactly the message he had felt in his heart the night before. He ran to his mother, who was making coffee in the small kitchen. "Mom, did you hang this psalm in my room?" She looked at him, confused. "What psalm, son?" They went back to the room together, but when they entered, the picture was no longer there. His mother gently stroked Matthew's hair. "Maybe it was a dream, but if God spoke to you, you must keep it in your heart." Matthew nodded. That verse was already deeply engraved inside him, beyond any wall. That afternoon, Matthew decided to go for a walk in the countryside. He wanted to be alone to think about everything he had experienced. He carried with him an old notebook where he usually drew, but this time he didn't draw. He wrote. He wrote Psalm 4 verse 8 in big, bold letters, as if by writing it he could feel it more real. As he sat under a tree, he felt someone sit beside him. He quickly turned around, but there was no one there. Still, he didn't feel alone. "God?" he whispered. "Is that you?" There was no audible answer, but the air grew warmer, and a gentle breeze caressed his face like a father's hand. And in his mind, a sweet voice echoed, "When you repeat my word, I draw near to you. When you trust, I will give you rest." Matthew closed his eyes and smiled. For the first time in a long time, he was not afraid to be alone, because he had understood something precious. He was not alone. He never had been. That night, he would sleep in peace again, not because the world had changed, but because his heart had. That night, as the moon rose like a silver lamp over the starry sky, Matthew quietly recited the psalm. "In peace I will lie down and sleep." He finished praying and lay down. He didn't know why, but he felt he should do it with gratitude, even though many things were still missing at home. The next morning, his mother rushed into the room. Her eyes shone as if she carried the sun inside. "Matthew! Matthew! I got a job!" Matthew jumped out of bed. "Really?" She nodded. A neighbor had recommended his mother to care for an elderly lady. A simple job close to home and well paid. Matthew stayed silent, not because he doubted, but because something inside him already knew it would happen. The invisible friend had promised it. That was the first miracle. That night, when he prayed again, Matthew no longer asked to sleep in peace. He prayed to give thanks, because he had discovered the secret. Peace doesn't come when everything is perfect, but when you know God watches over you even when nothing seems to be going right. That night, after having dinner with his mother, a rice and beans dish that tasted better than ever, Matthew went back to bed with a smile. But this time, before closing his eyes, he did something different. He opened his notebook and wrote a prayer. "Thank you, God, for taking care of me. Even though I don't always see you, now I know you are here. I will sleep in peace because you make me live confidently." He closed the notebook, tucked himself in, and let the silence embrace him. In his dreams, he saw his grandfather again. But this time they were together in a field full of flowers, with no wind or cold. Grandpa held his hand and pointed to the sky. "Do you see that light?" he said. "It's the rest God gives to those who trust in him." Matthew looked up. A giant star shone above them, as if it were illuminating only his little heart. "You don't have to be afraid anymore, Matthew. Now you know what others forget, that God cares for us even while we sleep." When he woke up, the sun was just peeking out, and a deep sense of peace surrounded him, as if he were still inside the dream. Days passed, and Matthew was no longer the same boy who feared the night. His mother noticed he was calmer, more mature, as if something invisible was strengthening him from within. One afternoon at school, his teacher asked, "Does anyone want to share something that gives them peace when they feel afraid?" Matthew raised his hand. With a steady but gentle voice, he stood in front of the class, opened his notebook and read, "In peace I will lie down and sleep. For you alone, Lord, make me dwell in safety." Psalm 4 verse 8. The classroom fell silent. It wasn't just the verse. It was the peace with which Matthew said it. A classmate began to cry. Another child lowered his head, thinking about the fights at home. And the teacher, moved, smiled. "Thank you, Matthew," she said. "You just reminded us of something we all needed." From that day on, not only did he sleep better, other children also began writing prayers, reading psalms before bed, and talking to God like to an invisible but real friend. Matthew became a small light in the midst of many dark nights. Years passed and Matthew grew up, but he never forgot the night when fear disappeared, the night God spoke to his heart through Psalm 4 verse 8. Now a young man, he still kept the same worn-out notebook with the words he once wrote. "I will lie down in peace, for you alone, Lord, make me dwell in safety." Whenever he met someone anxious, sad, or afraid, he gave them a copy of the verse. Not just to share the word, but because he knew what a simple promise could do when believed with the heart. That peace that once embraced him as a child never left him again. And you who are listening to this story, you can have that same peace today. No matter how strong the storm is or how dark the path may seem, God watches over you even when you sleep. Repeat this promise with faith every night. In peace I will lie down and sleep. For you alone, Lord, make me dwell in safety. Psalm 4 verse 8. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and let God watch over your dreams.